Hello and welcome to Edukemy's YouTube channel. My name is Harsh Singh, and in this video we shall discuss the Gazette magazine for 3rd September 2021, your daily guide to UPSC current affairs. Now, the hot selling articles in the market today are, first one, an easy concept of account aggregator and user data system in finance. The second one is birds of prey or raptors being threatened. This is being said by IUCN. We will understand why. And the third one is on a new variant of COVID called as C12, which got first found in Africa. This day in history relates to Viking 2. We will understand what it is. Featured news of the day, which is on a separate video. So this is on one video and rest of the discussion is on the second video. Now, this featured news is on Indus Water Treaty. This treaty becomes very relevant because lately Pakistan has accused India of one of its HEP construction on Chenab River. And in this context, we will understand what was the context in which this treaty was initially found. So the concept of the upper riparian and lower riparian states. This is one thing. We will also understand some details of this treaty. For example, the usage of water for agricultural purposes, for non-consumptive purposes, and for domestic purposes. Now, this is how the usage of water has been distributed between both the countries. So it becomes very, very relevant. And third is, what are the issues in the contemporary times? Now, this will be on a separate video. Image of the day is on Indore city. We will understand what beautiful transformation the city has gone through. Terms for today: Ladakh adopting a state animal and bird, and therefore becomes important from the perspective of environment and current affairs. UNSC resolution 2593 becomes very relevant from the perspective of international relations and Afghanistan. Portion 2 Abhiyan, a new initiative, reaffirmed initiative, and the fourth one is Zapat 2021, a military exercise being carried out in Russia with India's participation as well. Editorials of the day. The first one is on Indian Navy participation in naval military exercise in South China Sea. It is a different signal for China. The second one is a very, very important editorial. It talks about the relationship between a state and the people it serves, citizens. Very important editorial from the perspective of a future bureaucrat, that is you. And the third one is going beyond net zero, an important editorial from climate change perspective. Case study of the day is on mobile mohalla clinics from Delhi. Before we move ahead into the discussion, I would like to share a small thing. I believe in the power of communication. Here, we are spending time. I'm the one who's presenting you a video on current affairs, and you are the one who is watching, listening, and thinking about it. And I'm sure that you have certain opinion, some perspective to it, something that I might have missed, something that you would like me to cover in the next video. I would like you to comment on that. If there's nothing to comment on, you can at least write which is your favorite section. Is it the editorials, or the snapshots, terms, or the featured article? Right? If you like the effort, you can at least do is put a thumbs up on the like button. Right? And this is how we will understand if our work has been decent enough or not. We have dedicated this day in history to Viking 2. Viking ideally are the sea pirates from northwestern Europe. But this Viking is the robotic spacecraft that we are talking of that was utilized by NASA to land on the surface of Moon. This happened in the year 1976, and Viking had two abilities. One, it had an orbiter, so it would orbit around Mars and later it would land on Mars. And that time we did not have the technology for rover. And what was it there for? It was there to find if there is life existent on this planet or not, the red planet. Why red? It is called as red planet because it looks like red. It looks like red because there are iron particles which have been oxidized and therefore looks like red. Snapshot 1 is on user data system in finance. This uses the concept of account aggregator. Now let us quickly understand what is the concept behind it. Now, we are people who are making transactions. Suppose I have 3 bank accounts, ICICI, State Bank, and PNB. I do make transactions. So they are bank statements and they are discrete, they are diverse, and they are not at the same place. I also make different transactions, for example, movie tickets, purchasing of important equipments from e-commerce websites, and getting some food from Zomato. Now, these are all fragmented transactions that I have made. Right? And I also would have taken loan from people, right? Bank would have given me loan, different loans. So loans have been given to me, right? But there is no integrated system in which my credit worthiness can be determined, right? I also don't know where all my loans are. I also am not aware which are the places where I have spent. Now this data aggregated, what it will do is that it will converge all my expenses, all my loans, etc. at the same place. And this is how anybody who is an important role player here, for example, checking the credit worthiness, those people who are giving us loans, they would like to know what is our financial standing. This is how they will be able to find out our financial standing. It will also be easy for us to take loans because we will be able to prove our credit worthiness, right? So this is the concept of account aggregator. How will they perform? First of all, they will collect data about the people. After that, they will standardize the data, because data is collected, suppose it is collected from Amazon, it is in different format. It is collected from Google Pay, it is in different format. It is collected from separate bank, different format. So it will standardize it, and after that it will share, and it will seek data also. Who will seek data? Seeking data will be only through legitimate means. So there will be protection of data, and also people will be able to have democratization, control over their own data. And this is how data gap in financial field will get reduced. This is going to help in multiple ways. First one, in assessment of credit worthiness of that particular person. Second, if I have got wealth, my wealth can be managed, because now I know all my sources of wealth, and this management of wealth becomes easy. Yes, at this present times, you might think that I got just few thousand rupees and it is tough to manage. I understand. But if you have few thousand crores, that is a time when wealth management product will play an important role, right? So the third one, this architecture is right now for financial services. But imagine if this architecture is later used for healthcare, it will become an immense revolution in the health field. Now, a quick understanding of this is, suppose if you have taken some kind of pharmaceutical products from one store, another pharmaceutical store, another store, and if we have got prescription from one of the doctors and prescription from another hospital. Now, if I am diseased right now, I will get another prescription, but it is very much possible that the disease that I am carrying already is dependent on the kind of medication and consultation I have taken in previously. So therefore, we should have a data aggregation for healthcare products also, right? So right now it is in finance field, later it will also be introduced to healthcare and other places, for example, jobs data. Snapshot 2 is on the raptor species, that is the birds of prey. IUCN has stated that these birds are now threatened. These birds are usually the eagles, falcon, vulture and owl species. They are the top predators in their area, and they are called as raptors because the meaning of raptor is rapio. In Latin, it means taking by force, right? And these birds rightly do so in the air. They've got strong claws. They've got these rounded beaks to tear through the muscle of their victim. They've got good speed and a great eyesight, and this is what makes them the predator and the topmost species in the food pyramid while they are in the air, right? So when these birds eat those vertebrate animals or birds, they not only consume these birds, right, their prey, but also consume what they have consumed, these birds, these vertebrate. And what they've usually consumed is the seeds, is the small plants, and these seeds are dispersed through these raptor species. The raptor species can travel to long distances also, and this is how they help in dispersal of the seeds. Not only that, they also help in maintaining the ecological balance, right? Just like a tiger in a system is very important, this is how these raptor species also become very important, right? Now 30% of raptors are now considered nearly threatened, vulnerable, endangered or critically endangered. The situation is such that many of these vulture species have become critically endangered in a country like India. Now let us know what are the reasons for the same. Now, first reason is habitat loss. If we are going to construct houses at the places where these birds live, where will they live? If we cut those trees down, if we have deforestation, where will they have their nest? This is one reason. Climate change. Will they be able to survive climate change? This is the question. Toxic substances. One very simple example of how humans have spoiled the ecology is the usage of diclofenac. Now, diclofenac is a pain reliever, anti-inflammatory drug given to cattle animals. However, when this cattle carcass, when the animal is dead and it is later eaten by these kind of raptor species, it leads to thinning of the eggshells of the eggs that these species produce. And if the egg cells are thin, how will they be able to produce a baby? This is one issue. Then DDT, pesticide, lead kind of accumulation. This is what has led to these kind of species getting their population reduced. Also shooting, right? So shooting as amateur shooting, hobby shooting, these are the kind of issues. One example of what I illustrated just a while back is the presence of vulture species in the country. In a matter of just few decades, we have seen the population of vultures reduced to a few hundreds and thousands. And all these specific 5 species of vultures are now critically endangered in India. They are also present in Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act. Which are these vultures? Indian vulture, red-headed vulture, slender-billed vulture, white bat vulture and Egyptian vulture. This is the pathetic state for these kind of important detritivores in our ecosystem. Third snapshot is on C12 COVID-19 variant. This variant has been found in Africa and now it is rapidly spreading. The most valuable concern about this variant is that this is mutating at a rapid pace and it is also skipping the kind of antibodies that people have created against the previous COVID variant. Every organism tries to survive, and for its survival it has to adjust and evolve, and this is what is happening to COVID virus as well. These various mutants that we see that are evolving, they are a result of what happened in the past. The past form of virus, it would have already affected the masses, and therefore since it has already affected and people have already got the antibodies, it mutates to another form, and this is what happened to C12 as well. Now it has evolved, right? It is fastly mutating as well. Now this is where the WHO tries to organize these various variants into various classifications. So one is variant of interest, then we have variant of concern, and then we have variant of high consequence. Just the name suggests interest, concern, and high consequence. That means the degree of affection, the degree of affectability of this virus increases. While it is only a variant of interest, now this is the time when the virus has been detected in multiple countries, right? So multiple places of transmission have been seen. When it becomes a variant of concern, that means there is increased transmissibility, right? Also decreased public health and social issues, right? So this Delta virus is Delta variant is the variant of concern, and then we have variant of high consequence. This is the time when the virus has most destructive effect. For example, there is increased hospitalization, the vaccine efficacy, it drops down a lot, and then there is diagnostic failure as well. Now this virus has not been designated right now as any of them. However, it is mutating fast, and it is also trying to avoid the antibodies which are present in our own human body. Image of the day is of Indore city. Indore city has not only become the cleanest city in the country, it has also the first water plus city of the country in such Survekshan 2021. Now important parameters for a city to become water plus is one, not a single drop of water should be put into the drains if it has not been treated. This is one condition, and the second condition is that 30% of this wastewater which has been treated has to be reused at toilets, public toilets, at places where this can be used to water the plants. So this is the way water has to be recycled. How Indore achieved this feat was by halting 7,000 outfalls of this kind of water into the drains. Now this is where it halted the presence of the domestic water, that is the grey water. This grey water is without fecal contamination, because fecal matter also contains coliform, therefore the cleaning process changes. The first term and concept for today is Ladakh adopting state animal and state bird. Now Ladakh has become a union territory and it needs to have important symbols. These two species are found specially in Ladakh area. This is the snow leopard and we are talking of the black-necked crane here. These two cranes, they exist in pair, right? So these are the loyal couples and they are endangered species. And this snow leopard is also a vulnerable species. Both the species are top predators in their area and therefore their conservation is important. Thus, just the very important thing about the snow leopard is that it is solitary in nature and it is elusive. It is rare to find, it is even rarer to find as compared to the tigers. The second term and concept is the UNSC Resolution 2593 on Afghanistan and Taliban. Just a month back, UNSC had resolved two things. One, that Taliban should not take over Afghanistan with violence, and the second one is that Taliban should not be having an Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan. Now both the things have happened and you can see the change in stance of United Nations Security Council resolution itself. This resolution was initially promoted by countries like France, USA, UK, and now 15 members voted in it, in which 13 votes were with this resolution. We will understand what this resolution is, and 2 countries did abstain from voting. They were present but they did not vote. Who were these 2 countries? They were China and Russia. We knew these were the countries. Now what is this resolution about? This resolution says 2 things. One, that no country should be threatened by the presence of administration in Afghanistan, and Afghanistan should not shelter terrorists. This is first one. And the second one is about the safe departure of Afghan nationals and the foreign nationals. This was opposed by Taliban earlier because Taliban did not want Afghani people to leave Afghanistan. Now China has said that this is kind of brain drain happening from Afghanistan. People are trying to save their lives. and China says that this is brain drain. So this is one of the countries stand on it, and the second country, Russia, has abstained voting, and it said that there should have been inclusion of terror threats to Afghanistan itself. Now here it is not talking of Taliban threat to Afghanistan, it is talking about ISIS. ISIS it is treating as a terror threat. So it is trying to create a support group for Taliban in Afghanistan. So you can very well understand the international world politics. I read about this in the United Nations Security Council website, and you might as well read, but here is the summary. Other countries like France have said that they want to create a safe zone for people to have humanitarian aid administered to them. The second term in news is Poshan 2.0 Abhiyan. This is an extension of the Poshan 1 Abhiyan, only that the Poshan 2 Abhiyan includes the supplementary nutrition program also as well in it. Now, government has been trying to ensure that there be less malnutrition and more nutrition capabilities in all the age groups. Children, women, adolescent, all the age groups, and government has been running various programs for the same. So for example, we have supplementary nutrition program, we have Poshan Abhiyan, we have scheme for adolescent girls, and then we have national creche scheme as well. They work under various sectors. For example, integrated child development scheme, this is one, and then we have midday meal scheme. So these are various sectors, and the government has tried to integrate all of them in Poshan 2. The news is that the government says that in these aspirational districts, the districts which have less amount of nutrition capabilities, there we should have Poshan Vatikas. So Vatikas are those parks where organic cultivation can be done, organic cultivation of fruits and vegetables, and they could be homegrown, and this will result in better Poshan, better nutrition to all the age groups. Best part about this is the ministry involvement. So the ministry involvement is not only women and child development, we also see health and family welfare ministry, we also see the Ministry of Education participating in it, right? So do remember that this is not a single ministry work. The fourth term in news is Zapat 2021. This is a military exercise which is being carried out in Russia. India is a member of this, more than a dozen group countries which are carrying out this exercise, and this is an anti-terror cooperation, and this will be a theater level exercise. That means the whole theater of a war or an operation will be simulated, and all these countries will be participating in the same. Now China and Pakistan, what is their status? They are observers in this Zapat 2021. The first editorial talks about Indian Navy getting into the waters of South China Sea. The editorial begins by saying that this is an important signal being sent to China by India when India has started to participate in Malabar exercises and other exercises in the South China Sea region. Now, earlier, the impression that India had given to the world was that India was reluctant to deal with China, the kind of challenges China is imposing on the country. Now, this is how India was walking on the eggshells not to antagonize India, especially when China has been creating tensions at LOAC for India, and China has been having border clashes. We have seen that happen not only in Ladakh region but also in Sikkim and Arunachal area as well, right? This is where the article applauds India's efforts to participate in the 2-month-long exercises, which also are a part of Malabar exercises and the Quad partners and other countries in the region. For example, Singapore, Vietnam, Philippines, and Indonesia. India sent 4 of its warships for the purpose. You can see very well in this image what is the reason that India is not antagonizing China till now. The reason is trade. Now, USA is the one which is the highest trading partner of India, and India and USA carry out a trade of almost $92 billion. And then we have China with $82 billion, and the third is UAE with around $60 billion. In this China trade, we also know that the imports are far more than exports. That means China is very integral to India's imports. We have seen how the electronic equipments, electronic chips are being imported from China. We have also seen how this important API, right, active pharmaceutical ingredient is being imported from China. So this is one of the important reasons why we need China. What China has done in South China Sea is that it has claimed most of it. You can very well see that this is the South China Sea, this is Philippines Island, this is Indonesia, Malaysia, Brunei, and this is Singapore, and this is Vietnam. Now China claims almost this red component as its own. It has also built artificial islands, and after building these artificial islands, it claims that zone as its own, right? So it will have 200 nautical miles for it to have exclusive economic zone and to be able to exploit the economic resources in those areas. You can imagine what is this place close to? This place is very much close to Indonesia. This place is close to Malaysia. However, China claims all this, right? So we have a series of islands, Scarborough Shoal, Paracel Islands, and then Spratly Islands. These are all disputed and majorly by China. All the other countries also do claim it. However, China has built runways, it has built security and defense forces, and this is why China is the one which is the hegemon, regional hegemon in this particular area. The issue is that there are increased stakes for countries here in the South China region. Why? Because countries carry out huge amount of trade from this region. Now, India carries out as much as 55% of trade, Indo-Pacific trade from the region. Not only India, we have UK also participating, we have USA also, Japan also. Because of these trade activities, all these countries need to preserve their trading fleet. And that is the reason that defense fleet are also here. For example, America's 7th fleet, which is one of the largest fleets in the world, it has got around 65 to 70 ships of its own, and these are the ships which are carrying out the military exercises. Now, the main idea of these nations has not been to irk China. The idea has been to have freedom of navigation so that China should not disturb their trading activities, to have safety security of trading ships in the region, right? The idea that has been presented at the end of the editorial says that there should be greater activism, both military and diplomatic. That means it has to be a friendly outreach rather than provocation of China. The second editorial throws light on how a state should act with a citizen. The editorial begins by talking about the breaking the head remark of one of the civil servants. He said, break the head of those protesters who are participating in the farmer protest. And there is when the editorial says that why are we trying to demonize the right to protest? This is one. Then it gets back to the last 1.5 years of COVID times and says the behavior of civil servants has been described through slapping those citizens who are present in the wedding parties, smashing the phones of general public, and using lathi on people. So what is the main agenda of the whole presence of bureaucracy? This is where it says it is not about some rogue civil servants who are drunk in the power. It is about the way bureaucracy looks at normal citizens. This editorial becomes very relevant for each of us as citizens or as future bureaucrats. Now, there are two kinds of norms. One is deliberative norms and the other one is legalistic norms. Now, whenever a law is formed, there could be either deliberation, conversation with the people, right? Or it could be legalistic. That means it is thrusted to be executed, right? So it will have different force. It will have force of the law. It will have coercion. It will have authority. So there is where the editorial says that the goal achievement here in deliberative norms is through dialogue, through collective participation, through problem solving. But when we have legalistic approach, we try to force the norm. We try to coerce. We try to force the people to say this is to be done and you have to do it, right? And this is where punishment and fine is also given. So the value in the first one in deliberation is engagement of people, gaining trust of people, and respect for each other, respect for bureaucracy, and respect which is gained from bureaucracy for civilians, right? But on the legalistic terms, is it respect? Is it engagement? No. There is a procedure which has to be followed. There is compliance and there is punishment for the same. So what is the kind of relationship they enjoy? The civilians and the civil servants, what is that? They enjoy, in the first case, they feel like partners in the same activity. But in the second one, the citizens are treated inferior. They are treated as the people who have to be told what has to be done, right? So they lack awareness and people lack willingness and capability, right? And very good example of this is the police trying to force people of wearing masks. Police these times are not available at the traffic lights. They are available at those places where a human by mistake makes a mistake and they are there to catch them, right? So the idea is to penalize them. It is not to have them become partners and to have build trust and to follow law in a democratic manner. The idea is to punish and penalize, right? Now, adherence, remember this part, the article says, this is not me speaking, this is the editorial speaking, I have only streamlined the whole content. The editorial says that adherence to procedure is the one which gives excellence in performance. So procedure is the one which is focused in legalistic norms. We have fulfilled the duty for 8 hours, yes, done. Fine 10 people, done. But in deliberative norms, outcome is the most important thing. Even if I have not fined people, have people been wearing masks? Have I been ensuring that people participate in these activities? This is the kind which is required in deliberative norms, right? The wisdom in both of them, deliberative and legalistic norms, are different. In deliberative norms, the wisdom is in the possibility of cooperation. Now, this is how the nation develops itself. And in the legalistic norm, there is a possibility of disciplining only, right? So, which is the one which is far-sighted, you can very well see. And as future civil servants, you will be able to understand that this is the range of inspiration, of motivation. And this is the range of coercion, instruction, teaching. Right? So you can very well imagine which kind of bureaucrat would you like to become, right? Also, here, responsibility lies on the people. And in the legalistic case, responsibility lies on the state. And most of the time, state always makes the people liable, right? For example, people have been made liable for failure of COVID, right? It has been said that it is people who are responsible. However, have we been speaking about, has the government ever been speaking about the kind of deaths that have happened in the hospitals? Has government been speaking about the shortage of oxygen? Has the government been speaking about the shortage of the institutional crisis? No. So this is where we can fully differentiate between the deliberative norms and legalistic norms. And the article goes on to say that there was a survey conducted on the lockdown, and 45% people said that they feared the law, and that is the reason they followed lockdown procedure, and not because they were willing, right? So people engagement has been very less. Right? Now, this is where the editorial goes into the wisdom, and it says that reforms to challenges is important. The third editorial is on going beyond the net zero emissions for all the countries inclusive of India. It begins by saying that India has faced the brunt of the climate change in the last 1 year with increased natural disasters, increased amount of landslide, increase in flood activities, increase in the number of heat waves, and increase in the number of cyclones in the country. The number of people who have been displaced because of these kind of extreme activities is 1,000 times more than the people in conflict. In fact, the crisis is not only of climate change, it is a holistic crisis which involves food crisis, it involves crisis in economy, it also involves crisis in COVID, it also involves crisis in employment and whole lifestyle of a human being. The editorial goes on to say that yes, deforestation is responsible because deforestation results in the increase in the carbon spending, right, around 12%. But if there are increased forest fire, which are natural disasters, it leads to 12% increase of emissions. So these disasters are the one which have to be managed more. Not only that, because of all these kind of issues, India is facing 4 times the load, 4 times the burden of climate change as compared to the kind of emission the country has. Not only that, the editorial says that 21 cities in India will face water crisis in the coming 5 years. And this is where the editorial suggests that the idea must be to go beyond net zero emissions, to be able to ensure that green financing is there, to be able to create these kind of climatic zones, to be able to cope up with these kind of disasters. The case study of the day is on the Mohalla clinics in Delhi. In urban spaces, people want the health facilities to be present at their doorstep, and their congested spaces. Spaces are not also available so that health administration can set up their clinics. And this is where Delhi came up with a very innovative idea to set up portable clinics. You can very well see these clinics can be taken from one place to another. Also, they require lesser spaces. And this is where this innovation has helped in setting up of quick places where the health administration can work. So these portable shipping containers can be moved from one place to another in case of need, right? Acquiring land by the government has also reduced, and these are mobile, the space required is less. So additional benefits for the people and government both. If you like this video, if you like our effort, do share some love on us through likes, comments and shares. If you subscribe to the channel, you will receive timely updates. Thanks for watching.